Okay, in this video, we're going to be comparing the Samyang 85mm 1.4 lens to the Viltrox 75mm 1.2 lens. We're going to have the Samyang 85 on the new Sony A9II and the Viltrox on the Sony A6700. Which one of these lenses is going to produce the best background bokeh? 75mm on cropped at f1.2 or 85mm 1.4 on full frame? Let's find out right now. Now for this video, I took both lenses and both cameras to a car show. We have lots of car shows here. I'm in a vacation travel town. So I took both cameras, both lenses, and I tried to frame up each shot so they were equal. So the 85 was framed up as close as I could get to match up the 75mm, which is 75mm on cropped is actually 112mm in full frame range. So we can see the different background blur and so on. And on these Viltrox, as you can see here, I was using a ND filter because to be able to shoot at 1.2 on a bright day like that, I needed to use this variable ND filter I'm using right there. And with the Samyang, I'm using the A9III, which has the extremely high shutter speeds. So I was able to shoot at 1.4 most of the time. Sometimes I had to go into the shade a little bit because it does limit you sometime to a 1.8 otherwise. Now before we get into the video, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. The Samyang lens. I was really liking this lens. It produces nice, sharp, clear images. The background bokeh is fantastic. But on my A9III, I started having problems. So actually, I'm going to pack this up tomorrow and send it back. What's happening is, actually out on 2 jobs I took it on. Luckily, I had other cameras I had to switch back to. When I would push the focus button, the lens inside would start going like that, jerking back and forth, and it wouldn't focus on nothing. It eventually settles down and then focuses on the person, but if the person even moves just a little bit like this, it has to try to refocus as it's trying to track, and the whole time it's sitting it's terrible. I mean, I had to grab my other camera and put my A9III away and use my Nikon Z6, which not something I wanted to do because I was really wanting to use my A9III. But anyways, this lens is not working right at all on the A9III. Now, luckily, the day that I took this to the car show for these pictures, it worked fantastic. And it's worked fantastic on other times, but then on other times, I would have this same weird vibration focus problem. Anyways, it's going back. Maybe I'll end up buying that new Sigma 50mm 1.2 that's supposed to be coming out. Who knows? But anyways, let's get into the pictures so you can see what they look like. Even with this sending it back, you're still going to get to see what an 85mm 1.4 looks like on full frame compared to the Viltrox 75mm on cropped. And I think you're going to be surprised. The Viltrox did extremely well. Let's go into the photos now. Okay, let's get started. This first image. First off, we have the Samyang 85mm 1.4 lens on the Sony A9III on the left. Those will always be on the left. And on the right, we have the Viltrox 75mm f1.2 lens on the Sony A6700. And in the little writing up top, I'm pointing out that the 75mm actually equals a full frame 112mm. So I had to move in and out to shoot these. So let's take a look at this. right away you can see the full frame at f1.4 85mm has a little bit better background bokeh, but really not by much. And what you're going to see is the Viltrox is always a little bit warmer looking, and I think that might have a lot to do with that I was using the ND filter on it. I'm not sure. Go to the next picture. Now this was a car show, so I'm trying to, as best I can, there was like maybe 1,000 people here. It was very busy. So I'm trying to move in and out and get these framed up just right. And once again, you can see it looks like the 85mm at 1.4 has a little bit more bokeh back there, but its sharpness and the overall look, the Viltrox is holding its own for sure. And we move to this next one right here. They're actually both really close. I mean, you could say, of course, the 85 is just a little bit more blurred in the background, but really not by much. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. The Viltrox is definitely holding its own for sharpness, contrast, and a very good look. And here is a big fish. Now here you can see the warmness, a lot more warmness on the Viltrox here. And you can see that extra zoom of that 112mm, which is the 75 of the Viltrox, gives it a whole different look to the background. But here, both of them are really, I don't think one's that much better than the other as far as background blur goes. And here's another one, very similar colors, framed up slightly different. I think the 85, I'm zoomed in a little bit more. You can see the different look. That little fire hydrant in the background, the red fire hydrant, you can see it has a little bit more bokeh blur on the 85 at 1.4. But if you were to give somebody either one of these images, even from the Viltrox on a cropped camera, they'd be happy with it. I mean, I'd be happy with it the way it's shot, no problem. And here I tried to shoot some people. Here the 85 on the left, the Viltrox on the right. You can see the background blur behind them. It's really not that much difference here at all. You could almost say it's pretty even. One's no better than the other. And here's another kind of a close-up shot. You can see there's quite a bit more background bokeh blur with the 85mm Samyang at 1.4. But the Viltrox still looks pretty darn good. Actually, I kind of like that bit of a warmer look that it has. And here's a completely different look of color. The warmness of the Viltrox here gives this little plant a quite different, almost yellowish greenish look. Which, the way the sun was out, that might be pretty close to the way that it looks, where the Samyang has a very bluish tint. But now looking at the background bokeh, of course the 85 is doing a better job here. But the Viltrox is no slouch whatsoever, basically making it, in my opinion, the best bokeh lens for a cropped sensor camera. And here I'm actually focused on that guy in the center with the white hat on both cameras. It took me a moment to switch cameras and move into position. Really, one's really not any better than the other, especially at this longer distance. The bokeh is really not that different. What you do see different here is I like the compression better from the 75mm. Look at the people in the background. The compression, I think, is a little bit nicer on that. Because sometimes I do like the compression look, because you're shooting at basically 112mm versus 85mm. So that gives it a nice look. And this was a bicycle there. The colors here came out very, very close to each other. And even the bokeh blur here is very close to each other. You could give somebody either one of these and they'd be happy. The 85 maybe has a slight bit more, but not by a lot. The Viltrox did a very good job. And here's a man with a hat. Hey, a man with a hat and a guy with a beard. You can see the 85mm blurring the guy with the beard spaced out a little bit more in the background. Definitely blurred out more. But then you've got that Viltrox with that more of a zoomed in 112mm look, which gives it a whole different type of compression look. I would be happy with either one of them. Actually, I like the warmness of the color from the Viltrox better here, which that could be that ND filter that I was using. Who knows? They claim it doesn't have any color change, so if not, then I think I like the Viltrox better for this kind of look. And a sign, hey, Easter at the Wharf. It's a car show. And once again, you can see how warm the Viltrox is, and the Samyang is definitely very bluish, cool looking. And they both have nice background blur here. I like either one of them, once again. Actually, I like either one of them all the time. And here I really like the Viltrox warm look for this photo much better than the Samyang. Even though the Samyang is producing a little bit better background blur, I kind of like the look of the Viltrox on the A6700 better. What do you think? Pink, that's not a pelican, is it? No. It's a pink, God, I can't think what they're called now. Anyways, on to the next picture. And big tires, yeah, from big tires and big cars. There was hundreds of trucks there and cars there. It was just jam-packed. It's amazing how close the color got on this. The Viltrox is slightly a bit warmer, but it's very close in color. I don't think one's any better than the other here. Do you see any big differences here? Go on to the next one, and look, it's a mirror. I could stand there and comb my hair in a mirror. But anyways, the 85 has a little bit better background blur, but the Viltrox, if I was shooting with the Viltrox, I would be perfectly happy with that, especially on the cropped camera, because it's also a little bit lighter. Well, maybe not. Actually, the Viltrox is a bit of a heavy lens, and the Samyang was kind of light for it, even being on the Sony A9II. I think it might have been a whole lighter setup, a little bit lighter than the A67 because the Viltrox is all metal, so it's a little heavier. And here's a completely different type of look. You can see the Viltrox with that extra compression from that zoom gives that motor, that massive motor, a little bit of a different look, and you can see the warmness reflection a lot on the glass of the car. This was a motorcycle. There's a little orange sticker there. That's what my focus point is. And you can see the difference. I mean, sure, the 85's got a little bit more blur, but the Viltrox has that nice compression and looks also fantastic. I'd be happy with either one. And I was trying to shoot these guys. They moved around, so they are not the exact, same type of image. One here, the guy's turned sideways. The other one, I'm shooting his back, obviously. So it is what it is. You can see the two of them. See what you think. And this is a very interesting shot here. If you take a good look at this, this is a man sitting in a chair out in the sun. Yeah, how about that? The 85 looks really good, but look at that massive compression on the Viltrox. This is bringing the logo of that truck right in there with you. I mean, it brings you more into the scene at that 112mm than an 85 does. That's what's kind of making me a little bit reluctant to maybe buy a 50mm 1.2, because I really like at least the 85 background compression that you get. You're not going to get that in a 50, but then you do get the advantage of with the 50 you can be a lot closer to your subject. And we shoot portraits all the time, and that does mean a little bit of it's a good advantage to be a little bit closer because people can hear you. And when I've got a larger group, I don't have to be as far back as I would be with the 85. And we have a fire hydrant. Where's the dog? The dog should be peeing on this hydrant. But anyways, look at the color there. I thought the color looked pretty darn similar there. I guess the way the sun was hitting it, even the greens. And the background blur is, pretty similar. You're getting a little bit more compression with the Viltrox and less with the 85, so that's giving you a little bit softer here and there, but not by much. Not by much at all. And here's a wooden pelican. They were also selling a lot of little trinkets and art stuff going on here. And you can see the 85 at 1.4 is a little bit softer, of course, but you're getting that extra compression from the Viltrox, so it's kind of like, which one do you like? A little bit softer or a little bit more compression? I could take it either way, but I actually like the tone better from the Viltrox on this, that softer or warmer look. And this was a metal crown sitting on top of the truck. I'm actually aiming up at them, and you can see the difference there. And this was kind of interesting. This is this corn dog sign. I had to move in and out quite a bit to even come close to framing this upright, so people were moving around. And you can see how the Viltrox is really compressing that background quite a bit differently, which, you know, it's supposed to, because that's what a 112 would do versus an 85. But as far as the 1.4 versus f1.2 on the crops, there's really not that big of a deal. Maybe that tent in the background has a little bit more blur on it. Well, definitely the staircase in the background by the back wall has some more blur on the 85. But either picture looks good to me. And here we have a dolphin cruise sign. Once again, the Viltrox has got that nicer, warmer look. The Samyang is very bluish looking. I'm hoping that that lens is not so much my camera. But actually I'm using a Tamron, what is it, 28 to 75mm 2.8 lens. And I'm using that on the Sony A9II for most all of our jobs now, and it's working out fantastic. But anyways, you can see here a little bit more blur on the 85, but not tremendously more. And we're getting near to the end here. I think this is actually the last photo. And you can see once again the 85 produces at 1.4 a little bit more blur versus the 75 on cropped at 1.2. But I'd be happy with either one. Actually, I like the cooler color on this one on the Samyang because I like the blacks. They look a little bit more darker black. But either one looks good. And there you have it. Leave in the comments, what do you think? Do you like the look of the Viltrox or the Samyang, sorry. But the Samyang is the 85mm full frame camera on the Sony A9II versus the 75mm Viltrox on the Sony A6700. So that's today's video. What'd you think? Did you like the 85mm at 1.4 or the 75mm at 1.2? Cropped versus full frame. I tell you, if you're using a cropped camera like the A6700 or another one, you pretty much can't go wrong. The Viltrox held its own fantastic. At least you got to see the comparison. Full frame versus crop. Like I said, I'm going to send this back tomorrow with too many problems. And I want to get another full frame prime lens for my A9III. So maybe I'll end up with that Sigma 50mm 1.2. Maybe not. We're waiting. Maybe, you know, Viltrox is supposed to be having a 85 1.4 coming out too soon. So I'm not sure what I'll get next. But I need to get something. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video and this was informative for you. And I will see you next time.